Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Tina Jha, you're watching Perspective. World Water Week 2025 was observed from the 24th to 28th of August with the theme Water for Climate Action, emphasizing that water is not just a resource but also a strategic pathway for stabilizing the climate, safeguarding ecosystems and advancing equitable outcomes for vulnerable communities. Yet the challenge is immense. The World Health Organization says over 2.2 billion people still lack access to safe drinking water globally. Water is central to sustainable development, vital for health, livelihoods, food, energy and the environment. Water management also lies at the heart of climate solutions, from mitigating the impact of rising temperatures and extreme weather events to building resilience against droughts, floods and biodiversity loss. For India, which is home to nearly 1/6 of humanity, the stakes are even higher. Programs like Jal Jeevan Mission, the Atal Bhujal Yojana and Namami Gange are reshaping our water future. But with climate change intensifying, the big question is, how prepared are we to ensure water systems that are not just reliable but sustainable and climate resilient? To discuss this, we are joined by a distinguished panel. So let me begin by introducing our guest to you. With me in the studio is Mr. Sameer Kumar, Joint Secretary and Economic Advisor, Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation, Ministry of Jal Shakti. Sir, thank you for your time. Welcome to the program. Joining us virtually is Mr. Anshuman, Director of Water Resources at the Energy and Resources Institute. Mr. Anshuman, welcome to the program. Thank you for your time. And also pleased to welcome Mr. Saurabh Mukherjee, Executive Vice President, Corporate Strategy and Sustainability, Tata Projects Limited. Mr. Mukherjee, glad to have you with us on the program as well. So let's first try and understand the significance of the theme of World Water Week 2025, the 35th edition of the World Water Week observed globally, which is Water for Climate Action. Mr. Anshuman, let's begin the conversation today with you. Help us and our viewers understand. And in fact, if you could simplify the theme to us and our viewers, tell us why is water considered to be so critical in climate mitigation and climate adaptation?
Thank you for having me first. I think water is a very central subject to the entire discussions of not only the resource challenges but also the climate change and therefore climate action. It's basically a medium of impact as well as solutions both. So why it is being looked into from both the mitigation and adaptation perspective, because it is really central to it. If we are looking at reducing greenhouse gases through mitigation, hydropower, cooling in solar thermals, nuclear, bioenergy, wetlands, I mean, all of these have medium of water. So if we are poor in water management, I think it will release a huge amount of GHGs, and therefore there is a focus which is required to see that we are able to bring that down. On the other hand, we need to also adopt, which is essentially the coping with the climate impacts. Therefore, water-related extreme events like floods, like droughts, glacial melting, sea level rise, and many other inefficiencies in water, all of these needs to be addressed for us to be better prepared to cope with the challenges that climate change is already bringing and is further to expected to bring. And therefore, the theme which is there for World Water Week, the Water for Climate Action, actually is focusing both on adaptation and mitigation. This year they have a bit of more focus on, or slightly more on mitigation, because they felt that adaptation has been there in last previous years. But I think the action has to be both ways, adaptation and mitigation.
Right, absolutely. Mr. Kumar, India has been a strong voice when it comes to linking water, climate change, impact and sustainable development. How do you see India's commitments with the theme of World Water Week 2025, aligning especially with the theme Water for Climate Action?
Thank you. In fact, our commitment aligns seamlessly with whatever the World Water Week theme, that is Water for Climate Action. And central message is quite clear that we can't solve the climate crisis without solving the water issues. So we have operationalized this vision in concrete way, and we don't longer see as a sectoral concern. It's basically cross-cutting priority in governance, climate adoption, and the sustainability development. So these are our priority, and we are looking into it as a whole of the government approach.
Sure, we will discuss about some of the specific programs that were launched in recent years and the impact it has had. But let me also get an industry perspective from Mr. Mukherjee. Not just in the industry, but also an infrastructure perspective as well, Mr. Mukherjee. From the theme, especially let's talk about water for climate action. How do you see water management as central to climate mitigation, climate resilience, especially in the Indian context?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having us. It's always a pleasure to talk on anything related to climate change. It's very personal and passionate about it. So look, I'm part of the Tata Group, right? I think we are blessed that we have almost every theme of climate change covered within what we call Project Telangana. It's a group level initiative, which was started in 2018. And then in 2021, we gave it the name of Project Telangana, where, there are three basic pillars through which we look at the entire climate change and its impacts. Obviously, one is the decarbonization theme. Second is around circular economy. And a large part of that is around water, because we do recognize that water is one of the scarce resources, right? So as a group, we have taken some extremely ambitious steps around water neutrality. So the group companies have been mandated to at least target being water neutral by 2030, and then be water positive eventually by 2045. And the third is around biodiversity, which in a way kind of links back to water, because it does have a lot of ways by which it gets impacted. Now, I represent Tata Projects, which is the infra side of it. And it's surprising that you would be surprised the amount of water that goes in during construction, whether it is any infra projects or the manufacturing projects that we do. And we have a very holistic way of approaching this entire subject. So in short, we can get into details. One of the things that we realize is unless you measure and monitor something, you would not be able to bring it down, right? So every group company have their own KPIs around water. And what we do as an infrastructure and manufacturing EPC company, we have taken it to every site. So individually, every site has their own KPIs. It's not very easy for an infra company or a construction company to monitor it, because we are not the most organized per se. In a sense, we work in different segments and different parts of the country, but we do our best to ensure that every bit of water that's used is monitored. So at least any water that's coming through a source which is from a regular municipalities used, we are using water meters. And then we try to measure and monitor and ensure that every bit of water is recycled and reused. Right. I mean, the entire concrete manufacturing process requires water, right? You cannot actually absolutely make it zero, but yes, through the use of various technologies, we are trying to reduce it. So in a sense, we are taking a very holistic approach towards it. And most importantly is at a group level, every individual Tata company is monitored how much of water is being used, how much of water is recycled, how much of it is replenished. And that's the approach that we are taking.
Okay, so before we take forward the conversation on some of the most impactful solutions, the technological solutions, Mr. Anshuman, talk to us about some of the biggest gaps that you think persist in aligning climate action with water management.
I think if you look into the perspective of gaps, I think the biggest challenge would be the finance. And you would have heard this in a lot of these COPs that we have had in the past, that we do not have enough, climate finance for water sector especially. I mean, what we know as of now is roughly around 3% of, finance is available for water projects, as compared to the fact that the climate impacts are 90% linked to the water related issues. So in that sense, I think it's not enough as we have in terms of the financing. But then again, there are other challenges. For example, the kind of intervention that we're talking about, from adaptation and mitigation perspective, there are a whole range of interventions and technologies that we will possibly, describe in a while. But the importance is the scale and the, reach to bring about that critical mass impact. And therefore, I think that's in another gap, whether we are able to scale those intervention along with the finances. I think that's a very critical thing. Another important factor will be, do we have enough stakeholder engagement as is required to make that critical mass impact? So I think these are some of the things which are very, very important. But then along with, I think there are issues of, fragmented governance in different regions. There are equity issues in terms of the populations which are much more vulnerable. Do we have enough, investments and projects focused towards them? I think that's something that I would put forth some of those biggest gaps as far as climate action for water management is concerned. I can go on also on mentioning there are a number of technologies which are mentioned to be available.
Sure, we will
and
come
there
to
are
the
some best
technological
practices
aspect.
available as well.
We will come to discuss the technological aspect in the next round.
But do we have enough access of this to the masses or not?
Since you spoke about access and equity, I have a related question for Mr. Kumar. In that context, the Jal Jeevan Mission has been one of the largest rural drinking water programs globally, which covers 80% of rural households in the country now. In the context of climate challenges, tell us about how is this mission contributing not just to ensure wider access, but also to climate resilient water security for a population as large as ours?
As you are aware that Jal Jeevan Mission is the largest rural drinking water program in the world. And just now my colleague co-panelist was telling us that lack of the budget and finances is there. I can tell you that both the state and the center, so far in last 5 years since the inception of this program, has spent 4 lakh crore alone on this program. So it's a huge investment which we have made so far, and we are going to make further also. So far we have reached 80%, as you said, and we have an objective of providing 55 liters per capita per day of potable water to each household at tap water connection. So it's a huge change from the habitation base to now to the household base. So this we are just on service delivery and community participation. Our objective is service delivery and community rather than the infrastructure creation earlier, which used to be the stress of this. So unless the water is safe, reliable and managed at the local level, no system can withstand that. And as far as the climate resilient infrastructure which is coming up and has come up also, like in Ladakh we have a non-freezing pipes we have done. And similarly in Assam and Bihar, which is very flood prone, so we have a flood resilient system and infrastructure in place there. And we have a recharge intervention in the Bundelkhand and the Rajasthan, which is a water stressed region. So we have made a huge effort to, but the climate resilience, the creation of the infrastructure which really is climate resilient and adapting to the challenges which we are facing as of now, and of course providing a reliable, safe drinking water to the people.
What about the Atal Bhujal Yojana? It was extended to address groundwater depletion. What kind of measurable impacts has it had so far?
Atal Bhujal Yojana is quite a good intervention we have made, where we have tried to protect or improve the groundwater recharge, and also through the community participations. And so far we can tell you that under the Atal Bhujal Yojana, we have seen a positive, significant decline in overexploited assessment unit, which we call it dark zone also, from nearly 17% in the year 2017 to 11% in 2024. Similarly, the safe assessment unit increased from 63 to 73%. And from 2019, each year the majority of the groundwater monitoring wells, which is ranging from 52 to 72%, have shown rising water levels compared to their average level from the past decade. So it's a huge improvement we have made, but we are continuing our efforts on this.
You know, since we're talking about some of the impactful solutions and measures that have been undertaken recently, I came across during the course of my research, Mr. Mukherjee, that many Tata projects in water and sanitation have also had direct community impact. For the benefit of us and our viewers, if you could share some examples where corporate involvement has improved access to water livelihoods or resilience in vulnerable regions, something that also aligns with the theme of Water Week, which is providing safe water to the vulnerable communities, not just in India, but globally?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Absolutely. What we've seen that, how infrastructure, when you thoughtfully designed it and is locally anchored, can actually become a catalyst for resilience and dignity. So take, for example, the Dravavati River Rejuvenation Project that we did in Jaipur, right? It initially began as an environmental restoration effort, but it gradually evolved into a multidimensional community asset. So we transformed a neglected, pretty flood-prone stretch into a clean green corridor, with walking paths, biodiversity zones, and improved drainage. Beyond the aesthetics, it actually reduced urban flood risks. And today, as we see the impact of extreme climate events, we see that how it can actually help it. And what happened as a result of it was, we have a great surroundings with a lively community involvement. Similarly, in Ujjain, our work on sewage treatment plants, it had a very direct public health impact. You're treating wastewater to very high standards. And what it helped, while it was not intended to, was it had a major impact in reducing contaminations in the local water bodies, and as a result, the related diseases in that space. So I can keep on talking about it. Similar was in Bhubaneswar, right? Our STP initiatives enable treated waters to be repurposed for industrial use. So in a sense, yes, water is a scarce commodity. We cannot allow effluent waters from industries to pollute the rivers and water and the water bodies around. But in the process, when we intervene the communities around it, the benefits on the ecosystem is far beyond the initial intent of the projects. And I think that's what we need to come together as industries and governments and regulatory bodies. And I think three of us represent that, how we can ensure a solution that's for the benefit of the society as whole. Yeah.
Certainly. So how can this partnership be further strengthened, which also involves the community, is something that I will come to in the next round of questions. Mr. Anshuman, sorry to have interrupted. You were speaking about technology in the earlier answer. All of us are aware of the kind of transformation technology has brought about in our country. How are we using technological solutions to address a crisis as big as water challenge, catering to such a large population in India?
Sure. Let me just first mention, we have discussed industry and maybe domestic sector through the drinking water perspective, but I think agriculture, which is the largest consumer sector, let me just mention about the possibilities of best practices and the technologies available, and then of course where we are on that. Yes. In the context of adaptation and mitigation, I think there are a few which are, at the top, I would say. For example, alternate wetting and drying, systemic rise intensification, the flood and drought resistant seed varieties which are available from various of our research institutes across the country, as well as aspects related to, zero tillage, drip and sprinkler systems, and now the technologies like drones and satellite imagery based information system. These all can be very well used to have a very timely interventions on the irrigation scheduling, as well as the wastage or let's say efficiency of water and energy use simultaneously. This when we can also ensure crop productivity to be the better, or if not less. So I think the combination of information, the technologies and the digital innovations that is available to us, I think that's there, and we possibly can use them to our lot of benefit. We have worked with the Punjab government, just to give you an example, a scheme called Pani Bachao Paisa Kamao, along with the World Bank and the Punjab government. The idea was to exemplify all these interventions which I just mentioned on the field and demonstrate them how it can benefit them, not only with the productivity but also saving of water and energy. Right. And we actually monitor to be at somewhere around 10 to 30% the water energy saving. So these are all there. I think in terms of information technology, these have been there, and they are evolving as such as well over the period of time. But I think, as I mentioned earlier, the critical challenge which lies is, are we having enough impact at the masses where it is required to make that critical mass impact? Absolutely. And that's where I believe we have some kind of gap to cover. Once that is covered, I believe the society and the community and the challenges to the climate change on water resources by and large will be better placed on that. I think a lot of actions will play a key role, and a lot of agencies are playing a key role and will play a key role. For example, the government programs, which was mentioned. Of course, I will just mention a few more. Prime Minister Krishi Sinchai is now playing a very good role. They have made a good progress on that. National Water Mission actually is a very dedicated mission which is looking into the climate adaptation and mitigation from the water perspective. And likewise, there are many other programs which are contributing to the this whole interventions to the challenge of climate change. There are many technologies which are as well available. If you look into the wastewater, which again a good intervention to have a mitigation impact reduced, is about how we can reduce the methane production from the wastewater. If we take into anaerobic digestion based technology, they can basically reduce the GHG gas emissions. And the important part of it is you can treat the wastewater and have a resource recovery, which was also mentioned a while ago by Mr. Saurabh. So you can not only treat the wastewater to basically curb the pollution, but also recover nutrients and use the byproducts like biogas into electricity. So all of these are the kind of approach that we can adopt to move towards that entire adaptation and mitigation action towards the climate. Absolutely. I think taken together with the proper regulatory policies as well as finance options that we mentioned earlier, combine them together with a good access to the community and the grassroots level stakeholders, I think it will make a good impact.
There's so much that's being done to make our water services more reliable, more efficient. But however, the need is to accelerate all these efforts given the scale and intensity of the challenge that we face. Another challenge that Mr. Kumar, I wanted to ask you about is, in addition to access, quality is another issue that we are looking at in our country. How is your department addressing contamination issues such as arsenic and fluoride? That's something that we are dealing with in several of our states.
So far we have identified, like I can tell you the data, water stress, water quality, basically arsenic, around 14,000 villages we have identified as arsenic, and the fluoride around 8,000 around. So for that, what we have done, that we are trying to map that with the NABL accredited lab, and so far we have already set up around, we already have tagged with the 2,000, more than 2,000 lab. For out of these 1,600 are NABL accredited, and so far we have also trained around 25 lakh women for having a field testing kit, giving them the field testing kit so that they can go around and test for the contamination. So these are the some intervention we have made at the local level, and of course we have also have the around 5.14 lakh villages which have prepared their own village action plan, which they take care of the water quality issue, whatever in the limited capacity they have, and they can intervene in that. So these are the some intervention we have made for the water quality.
Okay, so as we wrap up our conversation, I'll take closing comments from all our panelists, beginning with you, Mr. Mukherjee. Two parts to the question that I have for you. Since we spoke about strengthening the public, private, community participation in the days to come to tackle the challenge of water scarcity and climate change, what is it that you would like to suggest? At the same time, through this platform, is there a message that you would like to send across on why investing in sustainable water management today is not just a social responsibility, it's a business imperative, especially in the age of climate change, because it's impacting one and all?
I think the path forward is that of collaboration, right? I mean, water is a challenge that is right in front of us, whether it's the scarcity, whether it's the extreme climate events. So we have to have all stakeholders involved. Government definitely brings in scale. Businesses bringing innovations, and for some businesses like us, bring in the commitment. I hope that's there with the rest of the businesses who are there. And obviously the communities bring lived experience, and they are the major stakeholders. When these three elements come together, I think the solutions would be far more grounded, would be far more practical, and would actually overcome some of the challenges that we see. I mean, as a construction company, we do face a lot of challenges meeting our water neutrality targets, right? And that's why government support needs to come in. And I think the message, well, I think for the business community, I would just like to say that water risk is a business risk, right? In today's climate change landscape, investing in sustainable water management isn't just an option, right? It's the very reason on which you would tomorrow exist. So it affects our supply chain, it affects your operational stability. So every business that's looking to grow forward has to look at water very, very closely. I do see net zero and climate actions and GHG emissions becoming far more central to the core of doing businesses. Water isn't doing that. So let's accept that this is a shared resources which belongs to the communities, to everybody, and as industries, we also need to share their own liabilities.
Absolutely. Since you spoke about stakeholders, communities are an important part of that, Mr. Kumar. For those who are watching our episode, what impactful steps would you suggest, especially to the households, the communities, that they take up in order to support the government's efforts towards water sustainability, most importantly, climate resilience?
Most important intervention or can be that we should, whatever the infrastructure which has been created so far, particularly under the Jal Jeevan mission, huge investment has taken place. So operation and maintenance is a big priority for us, and for which, unless until there is a community engagements and the people participation, we would not be able to succeed. So our objective is to engage the people at the local level and see it's their own scheme, and they should own the schemes, and they should operate it, maintain it, and whatever the government can do, they will continue to do, but it is for the people to come forward and help in running the system. So it's a very important, and of course we have a source sustainability issue, and we have a maintenance of the huge pipelines which we already have. So these are the few basically priority for us for the future, that the people should come and own the system, and they think that it is their own system, and they have to work for that, and this will create the ownership, which is really a crucial aspect for maintaining any or operating any system.
I think that going forward is going to be very, very important. Mr. Anshuman, the last question to you. Looking ahead, what steps do you think may be needed, are the need of the hour to ensure that water security is seen as climate security?
I think everybody has a role to play, and I think in that context, an integrated water management approach is very, very important to not only be prepared for a sustainable water management, but also for climate action and climate resilience. And right from water conservation to the reduction in the wastages and managing the water demand, improving our water use efficiency, focusing on recycle, reuse and resources recovery, all of these in all the sectors, not only domestic sector, which we have quite a significant leakage losses still, but also in the agri-irrigation, as we just discussed. All of these are very important kind of, interventions, which I would feel supported by good regulation and good finance. I think that will make a significant impact. The importance, as I said earlier, is that it reaches the masses, and therefore in that context my statement would be that democratization of the technologies and best practices is very, very important. Unless we achieve that, the real impact will really be quite far distant.
Certainly, and let me end the program by quoting the United Nations, because what was said there is very, very significant, that water may be transparent, but it must not be invisible in our climate action. It's on us, every stakeholder, to ensure that water should be at the heart of climate action. With that, we'll have to wrap up this conversation. Thank you once again, gentlemen, for joining me on this edition of Perspective, sharing your thoughts, your views with us and our viewers. And to you viewers, thank you very much, as always, for your time as well.